Hello, my name is Amy, and this is my ghost story. Although I've had many stories, this one stands out to me so much. In 2010, I was working as a private care nurse. I was working with 6 other ladies. We were round the clock nursing in a private home. We had also previously taken care of this woman's husband before he passed. He did pass away in the home. And their son had also passed away, but he had committed suicide. So going in, everyone was very wary of this house. We knew things were happening. We heard lots of noises all the time. Doors would shut, lights would turn off and on. So the whole house itself, we knew, had some activity, but it never really bothered us. There was one room at the end of the hallway, and that was a room that belonged to her son, the one that did commit suicide. That room did bother me really bad, and I never went near that room. We also had a garage part that we had to go out and do laundry in, and the garage was kind of unbearable at sometimes. I worked the midnight to 6 a.m. shift, so sometimes the nighttime would be a lot more active than the day. I remember one time in particular, this stands out in my mind so much. The woman that we took care of, she had Alzheimer's. So not everything that she said always, made sense or whatever. But I remember this night particularly because I was sitting in the main office, which was in the very front of the house, and her bed and everything was set up in the living room area. And when we weren't checking on her or working with her, we would sit in the office and do charting and stuff like that. So I was in the office at the desk doing my charting, and we had a baby monitor set up on the desk where we could see. It was pointed like directly at her bed to where we could see her. As I glanced up, I seen a man walk in front of the camera. You could even tell that he was wearing jeans and like a white shirt. And I clearly seen this man walk in front of the camera. So I took off running into the living area where she was at. There was no one in there. I walked around. There was only one entrance in and out of the living area, and that would be through the dining room, and the office was right off the dining room. So I could have seen if somebody came out. There was no one in there. So I looked everywhere. I looked under the bed. I was scared. I was already shaking because I believed somebody had broken in. So I checked on her, made sure she was fine. I did call my DON, which was our director of nurses, and she told me just to make sure that she had seen something like that before on the camera, just to do a complete walkthrough. So I did a complete walkthrough of the house. Nobody was there. All the doors were locked, windows were locked. So I just kind of let it go as to, I just seen a spirit walk in front of the camera. So I decided with all the noise that was going on, she was waking up. So I was going to get her up for just a little bit. As I was sitting her up, and I sit her on the side of the bed, she looks right past me. And she says, plain as day, "Who is that man standing behind you?" And my heart sunk. My whole body just almost went limp. I was so glad that I did not have her standing up already, because I probably would have been too weak to hold her. So very slowly, I turned my head around and I looked behind me, and there's no one standing there. And I said, "Where do you see a man at?" And she said, "He's standing right there behind you." And so that right there proved to me, even though I had heard noises before and everything else, that night proved to me that there was spirits in her home. And although I had been doing a lot of paranormal stuff prior to this, I was not as involved in it as I am now. So that definitely opened my eyes to that house. The house was extremely active. And so many times did she say that if you went to sit on a couch or something, she would say, "Oh, don't sit on him," or, whatever. We believe fully that her husband was there waiting on her. Because after she did pass, the house was so calm. There was nothing. The first time I walked in that house after she passed away, the atmosphere had changed so much. So I do believe that that was her husband. And maybe with the Alzheimer's, she didn't recognize him so much. So, but I believe I believe her son and her husband left when they got to take her home. So that was an amazing day for me. Definitely won't forget it. We all discussed it at work, and others had experiences like that as well. So yeah, that was my experience at her house, and I will never forget that day. Thanks for listening. Bye.